I used to believe I had everything a man could ever want. A beautiful wife, a smart and loving daughter, and a home that echoed with laughter and warmth. I wasn't a perfect man, but I did everything in my power to be a perfect husband and father. I worked hard, I provided, and I made sure that my family never had to worry about anything. For years, I would look at my life and feel a deep sense of gratitude. But I was a fool, because the people I loved most in this world, the ones I would have died for, were the same ones who ruined me. And the worst part? I never even saw it coming. I met my wife, Laura, when we were both young. She was radiant, full of life, the kind of woman who drew people in with just a smile. I fell hard and I fell fast. Our love was the kind that made other people jealous, or at least that's what I thought. We were inseparable, always laughing, always talking. Even when life threw hardships our way, I believed we were a team. I worked long hours to make sure we had a comfortable life, but I always made time for her. Date nights, surprise gifts, handwritten letters on our anniversaries, small gestures to remind her that she was my everything. She would smile, kiss me, tell me she loved me. And I believed her. God, I believed her. When our daughter, Emma, was born, I felt something inside me shift. I had always been a man who worked hard for my future, but now I had someone else's future in my hands. I held that tiny, fragile body in the hospital room and swore to myself that I would be the best father a little girl could ask for. And for years I was. I taught her how to ride a bike. I stayed up late helping with school projects. I was the first to cheer at her soccer games, the loudest in the crowd. Whenever she was scared at night, I would sit by her bed, telling her stories until she fell asleep. And every time she hugged me tight and whispered, "I love you, Daddy," my heart felt whole. I thought we had a bond that could never be broken. But bonds aren't always as strong as they seem. Looking back now, I see the signs. They weren't obvious at first. Just small things, easy to dismiss. Her sudden lack of interest in me. Laura used to look at me like I was the only man in the world. Her hands would linger when she touched me. Her kisses full of passion even after years of marriage. But then they stopped. One day, I leaned in to kiss her in the kitchen. She turned her head at the last second, making my lips brush against her cheek instead. She laughed it off. Sorry, I was distracted. I ignored the sting in my chest. Another night, I reached for her in bed. She sighed, shifting away. Not tonight, I'm exhausted. And yet, the next morning, she had plenty of energy to go out with her friends. I told myself it was normal. I told myself I was overthinking. But in my gut, something felt wrong. Her phone became her best friend. Laura had never been secretive with her phone before, but suddenly, it never left her hand. She started tilting the screen away from me when she texted. Her phone was always on silent. No more message dings, no more notifications popping up on the screen. And she started going into another room whenever she had to take a call. One night, I woke up thirsty and walked past the living room. The glow of her screen lit up the dark room, her fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. I leaned against the doorframe. "Who are you texting this late?" She jumped, quickly locking the screen. "Just a friend from work." She smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to push, but I didn't, because I trusted her. And that was my biggest mistake. Emma's sudden change in behavior. Emma had always been close to me. She was Daddy's little girl, always excited to see me when I came home. But then, she changed too. She stopped greeting me at the door. She spent more time in her room. She started acting cold, short answers, avoiding eye contact, pulling away when I hugged her. At first, I thought it was teenage mood swings. But then I noticed how much closer she was getting to her mother. They whispered in hushed tones. They exchanged glances whenever I walked into the room. They started going out together, just the two of them, leaving me behind. I thought maybe they were just bonding more as mother and daughter. I never imagined that Emma knew something I didn't, that she was helping to cover up her mother's betrayal. One night, we had dinner together, the three of us. I remember looking across the table at my wife and daughter, the two people I loved most in the world. Laura was laughing at something Emma said. They were smiling, sharing a secret. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of happiness. Maybe I had been overthinking everything. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe we were still the perfect family I always believed we were. But what I didn't realize was that I was sitting across from two people who had already chosen to betray me. Two people who had already ruined me. And soon, I would finally learn the truth. I can tell you the exact moment my world collapsed. Not because it was some dramatic, earth-shattering event, but because it was so quiet, so painfully silent. It wasn't the kind of betrayal that comes crashing down on you all at once. No, it was slow, creeping, wrapping itself around my life like poison, spreading before I even realized I had been infected. And when the truth finally came out, it ruined me. It started with something small, a misplaced phone. Laura had always been careful. Her phone never left her side. But that night, for the first time in months, she forgot it on the kitchen counter. I wasn't the kind of husband who checked my wife's phone. I trusted her. But something about that moment, the way she froze when she realized it was gone, the way her eyes darted to me, filled with panic, made my stomach twist. "Babe, can you grab my phone?" she asked, her voice too casual. Something inside me whispered, "Don't give it to her." I picked up the phone. It was unlocked. And then, right as I was about to hand it to her, a message popped up on the screen. "I can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? Red heart." Time stopped. The air in the room changed. I felt my heart hammering in my chest, the blood draining from my face. I looked up at Laura. She was already walking toward me fast, but it was too late. For a second, I thought my eyes were lying to me, that this was some kind of joke, a misunderstanding, that it wasn't her phone, that it wasn't real. But then Laura snatched the phone out of my hand, her fingers gripping it so tight her knuckles turned white. Her eyes met mine, wide and panicked, and I knew. Who the hell is that? My voice came out steady, too steady. She swallowed hard. It's nothing. I stepped closer. Nothing. She backed away. The woman who had spent years sleeping beside me, who had whispered, "I love you," into my ear, who had carried my child in her womb, was standing in front of me like a cornered animal. And that was when I understood. She had been doing this for a long time. She hadn't been distant because of stress. She hadn't been tired because of work. She was tired of me because she had someone else. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My head was spinning. But then, the final knife in my back. Emma walked in. She took one look at the scene, at me, at her mother, and her face didn't even change. No shock, no confusion, no questions. She already knew. I turned to her, my voice hoarse. "Emma, did you know about this?" She blinked, hesitating. That hesitation killed me. And then, she looked at her mother before she finally whispered, "Yes." I staggered back like she had physically hit me. "How long?" I choked out. Emma looked down. "A while." She couldn't even meet my eyes. I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. My own daughter, my baby girl, the one I had held in my arms, the one I had raised, had chosen to protect her mother's secret instead of me. I had lost them both. It wasn't just infidelity. It was deception. It was manipulation. It was my wife and daughter standing on the same side, against me. I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. "What?" I whispered. Laura ran her hand through her hair, exhaling sharply. "I didn't want you to find out this way. This way? This way? You didn't want me to find out this way. Or you didn't want me to find out at all." My voice rose, my anger bubbling under my skin like acid. She said nothing. Emma wouldn't look at me. And that was when it hit me. I wasn't just being cheated on. I wasn't just being betrayed. I was being erased. They had already made up their minds about their life without me. I was the outsider in my own home, and it broke me. For the next few days, I moved like a ghost. I barely spoke, barely ate, barely existed. But inside, something dark was growing. Because if they thought I was just going to walk away and let them destroy me, they were dead wrong. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to let them win. No, I was going to make them regret everything. And I was going to do it in a way they never saw coming. There's a moment, right after your life crumbles, where everything goes quiet. It's not like in the movies where people scream, throw things, or break down into sobs. No, it's just silent, like the world has stopped moving. Like you've been knocked into a dark void where nothing exists except the echo of your own pain. That's where I was. Broken, hollow, destroyed. And for the first time in my life, I had no idea what to do. I don't remember much from the first few days after I discovered the truth. I know I didn't eat. I know I barely slept. I know I wandered through the house like a stranger in my own home, haunted by the memories of a life that no longer existed. Everything around me was a lie. The photos on the walls, fake. The smiles in the family portraits, meaningless. The laughter I used to hear, now taunting me. I found myself sitting in the living room at odd hours of the night, staring at nothing, replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But no matter how hard I searched for an answer, the truth remained the same. My wife betrayed me. My daughter covered it up. They destroyed me without a second thought. And that's when the despair turned into something else. Pain does something to a man. It either breaks him completely or it turns him into something new. I could feel it happening, this shift inside me. The man who once lived for his family, gone. The husband who gave his all, dead. The father who would have sacrificed everything, buried. What remained was something else entirely. Something colder, something stronger, something that refused to be a victim. Because if they thought I was just going to accept this, if they thought I was going to fade away quietly while they moved on like I never existed, they were dead wrong. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to waste another second feeling sorry for myself. No, I was going to make them regret everything. And I was going to do it in a way they never saw coming. I started thinking differently. Every emotion, pain, anger, betrayal, became fuel. If they had been planning their betrayal behind my back, then I was going to plan my revenge right in front of them. But the key to revenge? Patience. I wasn't going to act recklessly. I wasn't going to explode in rage. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me suffer. Instead, I was going to be smart. I was going to take my time. And when I finally made my move, they wouldn't just feel regret. They would feel ruin. I spent the next few weeks planning every detail. Step 1, the silent transformation. No more sulking. No more looking defeated. I started working out, changing my appearance. I dressed better, carried myself differently, like a man who was already winning. I acted completely unbothered in front of them. Let them think I was moving on too easily. It would make the next steps even more painful for them. Step 2, gathering information. My wife had been hiding things from me, but now I was going to dig up everything. I started tracking her finances, looking at where her money was going. I hired a private investigator to get dirt on her and her affair partner. I kept my distance from my daughter, but I watched her closely. They thought they were free of me. They had no idea I was 10 steps ahead. Step 3, the setup, making them comfortable before the fall. I started acting friendly again, not too much, just enough to make them lower their guard. I played the role of the forgiving husband, the understanding father, just long enough to get everything I needed. They thought I was weak. They thought I was done fighting. And when the time was right, I would strike. One evening, I sat at the dinner table. Laura and Emma were chatting, laughing, completely unaware that I had already started dismantling their world. I looked at my wife. She thought she had everything under control. She had no idea that I had already gathered enough evidence to ruin her completely. Her reputation, her finances, even her relationship with her affair partner. I turned to Emma. She had been so confident in covering for her mother, thinking I would never find out. She had no clue that I had something even worse planned for her. I smiled. A real, genuine smile, the first one in weeks. Because I knew something they didn't. I wasn't broken anymore. I was in control. And soon, they would pay. Betrayal is a funny thing. It doesn't just hurt. It redefines you. When my wife and daughter conspired against me, they didn't just break my trust. They didn't just take my love and throw it away. They created a new version of me. A version that didn't forgive. A version that didn't forget. A version that was going to make them suffer in ways they never imagined. And that's exactly what I did. Laura thought she was untouchable. She had gotten away with her affair for so long. She had built a life behind my back, believing I would never find out. She thought she could walk away from me without consequences. She was wrong. Exposing her affair publicly. I had gathered everything, texts, calls, photos, even videos from the private investigator I hired. I could have just sent them to her affair partner's wife. I could have used them for leverage in the divorce. But that wasn't enough. I wanted her humiliated. So, I made sure everyone knew. I sent the evidence to her boss, a company with strict moral clauses. I sent it to her parents, who had always thought she was the perfect wife. I even sent it to our closest friends, the ones she had lied to while sneaking around. The fallout was instantaneous. She lost her job. She lost her reputation. And suddenly, the life she had built crumbled at her feet. Taking everything she loved. Laura had always lived comfortably, because of me. The house? In my name. The car she drove? Mine. The money she used? Provided by me. So, when it was time for the divorce, I made sure she got nothing. I had proof of her infidelity, so legally, she had no grounds to claim anything. I had moved my assets, ensuring she couldn't touch a single dime. I made sure she was left with nowhere to go, no job, no stability, nothing. She begged. She cried. She even tried to apologize, saying she had made a mistake. I smiled. Yeah, you did. And then I walked away. Emma thought she could lie to me. She thought she could help cover up her mother's affair, and I would just forgive and forget. She thought because she was my daughter, I would always be there for her. But she made her choice. She chose her mother over me. She chose to lie, to betray, to erase me from her life while covering for someone who destroyed our family. And now, she was about to learn what it felt like to lose me for real. Cutting her off completely. I stopped trying. No more checking in. No more asking how she was. No more being the father who did everything for her. At first, she didn't notice. She was too busy playing happy family with her mother, believing they had one. But then, things started falling apart. Her mother had no money, which meant Emma had no money. Her mother had no home, which meant Emma had nowhere stable to live. Her mother had no job, which meant Emma was forced to struggle for the first time in her life. She reached out. At first, little texts. Hey, Dad. Hope you're doing okay. Ignored. Then, more desperate. Dad, I miss you. Can we talk? Ignored. And finally, please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Can you call me? I just want to talk. I read it. And then, I deleted it. Because she had made it clear where her loyalty lay. And now, she had to live with the consequences. Revenge isn't about rage. It's not about screaming, fighting, or causing a scene. True revenge? It's silence. It's walking away while they drown in the mess they created. It's becoming someone so untouchable, so successful, that their biggest regret is losing you. And that's exactly what I did. I rebuilt myself. I thrived in ways they never imagined. New house, new career advancements, new relationships with people who actually valued me. And the best part? They had to watch it all from the sidelines, knowing they could never be a part of my life again. One day, I ran into Laura at a store. She looked different, older, tired, worn out from the mess she created. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. I didn't let her. I just smiled, nodded, and walked away. Because I had already won. And they had already lost. They thought they were getting rid of me. But in the end, they were the ones who ended up alone, broken, and filled with regret. Because they didn't just lose a husband. They didn't just lose a father. They lost the best thing that ever happened to them. And they will spend the rest of their lives wishing they had chosen differently. But it's too late now. Because I'm gone for good. Love has a way of fooling you. It makes you believe in forevers. It makes you think that when you find a right person, they'll stay. That no matter what happens, no matter how life changes, they'll always choose you. I used to believe in that. I used to believe in her. Her name was Laura, and from the moment I met her, she became the center of my world. I remember the exact moment our paths crossed. It was a Friday night, and I had just finished a long shift at work. Some friends convinced me to go out for a drink, though I wasn't in the mood for crowds. But the second I walked into that bar, I saw her. She was sitting with a group of friends, laughing, completely unaware of the way she commanded attention without even trying. Long, wavy brown hair, eyes so deep you could get lost in them, a smile that made my chest tighten. She wasn't the loudest person in the room. She wasn't trying to be the most beautiful. She just was. And for some reason, I couldn't stop looking at her. My friends were talking, cracking jokes, but I wasn't listening. Because in that moment, all I could think was, I need to know her. I don't know what gave me the courage that night, but I walked up to her table. Maybe it was the way she kept tucking her hair behind her ear, like she was nervous about something. Maybe it was the way she smiled at everyone, but looked slightly lost, like she was waiting for something, someone. Whatever it was, I took a breath and introduced myself. Hey, I know this is random, but I couldn't help noticing you. Can I buy you a drink? She looked up surprised. For a second, I thought she'd turn me down. But then, she smirked. That depends. What's your best pickup line? I laughed. How about I skip the pickup lines and just tell you I'd really like to talk to you? She raised an eyebrow, studying me, and then she nodded. All right, one drink. And just like that, I was hooked. That one drink turned into 3 hours of talking. We barely noticed our friends leaving. It was just us, sitting at that bar, sharing stories, learning about each other. She told me she worked in marketing, that she loved art but hated cooking. She told me she had been in a few relationships, but nothing ever felt right. She told me she wanted something real, and I believed her. I told her about my job, about how I had been working hard to build something stable. I told her I wasn't looking for just another fling. I wanted something serious. I remember the way her eyes softened when I said that, like she finally found what she was looking for. That night, when we left the bar, I walked her to her car. She looked up at me, biting her lip, hesitating. So, should we do this again? She asked. I smiled. Absolutely. And that was it. That was the moment I thought my life had finally fallen into place. For the next few months, we were inseparable. I took her on weekend trips. I surprised her with flowers just because. I listened to her talk for hours about things she was passionate about. And she made me feel like I was the only man in the world. She would kiss me like I was her heir. She would hold me at night, whispering, I can't believe how lucky I am to have you. She would look at me like she couldn't imagine a future without me in it. And God, I was a fool, because I believed every single word. We got married on a warm summer afternoon. She walked down the aisle, looking like something out of a dream. I still remember the way she smiled at me when we said our vows. I promised to love you, to stand by you, to be your partner in everything, no matter what life brings. I held her hands, looked in her eyes, and believed every single lie she told me that day. I thought we had built something real. I thought we were a team. I thought she meant every word. But looking back now, that wasn't love. That was just the best performance she had ever given. Because while I was planning forever, she was already planning her escape. For a while, things were good. Really good. We moved into our first house together. We spent weekends watching movies, wrapped up in each other. We started talking about the future, kids, traveling, growing old together. She made me believe we had it all. But then, something changed. She started acting different. Small things at first. She started staying out later. She started turning away when I reached for her. She started looking at me like I was just another part of her routine, not the man she once swore she couldn't live without. I ignored it. I told myself all couples go through phases. I thought maybe she was stressed. Maybe she just needed space. But the truth? The truth was that the woman I fell in love with, the woman I had built my whole life around, was already slipping away. And I had no idea what was coming next. Love isn't supposed to end like this. When people talk about heartbreak, they make it sound like a slow, painful process, like two people drifting apart over time until there's nothing left but silence. But for me, it happened all at once. One moment, I had a wife, a home, a future, and the next, I was standing in the middle of my living room, listening to the woman I loved tell me she was leaving. It had been a long day at work. I came home expecting normalcy, a quiet dinner, a movie on the couch, maybe even a lazy conversation about our weekend plans. Instead, I walked into a disaster I never saw coming. Laura was sitting on the couch, staring at the floor, hands clenched in her lap. Something about the way she looked sent a cold chill through my spine. She wasn't mad. She wasn't crying. She was just detached, like she had already made up her mind, like she had been rehearsing this moment for a long time. I put my keys down slowly. Laura? What's wrong? She lifted her head and looked at me, really looked at me, and I swear to God, for the first time in years, I realized I had no idea who she was anymore. Then she said it. I can't have sex with you anymore. I'm leaving. I stood there, frozen, as the words sunk in like poison. I can't have sex with you anymore. I'm leaving. That was it. No lead up. No discussion. Just a cold, emotionless statement of fact. I let out a hollow laugh, shaking my head. What? She sighed, rubbing her temples like she was exhausted. I don't know how else to say it. My chest tightened. You don't know how else to say it? How about telling me what the hell is going on? She didn't answer right away. She just sat there, looking at me like she was waiting for me to accept it and move on. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I took a step closer. Are you serious right now? You're just leaving? No explanation. She sighed again. I just don't feel anything for you anymore. I haven't for a long time. Her voice was calm, steady, emotionless, like she wasn't talking about the man she married, like she was talking about a stranger. I don't feel anything for you anymore. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. So this is it? You're just throwing everything away. She finally stood up, brushing her hands down her jeans. I already packed my bags. I blinked. What? She nodded toward the hallway. And that's when I saw it. A suitcase. She had planned this. She wasn't having a moment of doubt. She had already made up her mind. I felt something inside me break. I already packed my bags. That meant she had been planning this for weeks. Months even. She had sat across from me at dinner, kissed me goodbye in the morning, laughed at my jokes, all while knowing she was going to leave me. I took a deep breath, my hands shaking. Is there someone else? She hesitated, just for a second, but that second was all I needed. She scoffed. That's not what this is about. Bullshit. I could see it in her eyes, the guilt, the hesitation. I took another step forward, my voice lower now. How long? She frowned. How long what? I clenched my jaw. How long have you been seeing him? Her face twisted in anger, but it wasn't real anger. It was defensive, like someone who had just been caught in a lie. This isn't about another man, she snapped. I'm just not happy, okay? Isn't that enough of a reason? I let out a hollow laugh. You don't just wake up one day and decide to leave your husband. So don't stand there and pretend this is about happiness when we both know damn well there's more to it. She shook her head, grabbing her bag. I'm not doing this. I already made my decision. I stared at her, my heart pounding in my chest. So that's it? Just like that. She sighed. Yes. And then she turned toward the door. I should have stopped her. I should have yelled, begged, demanded answers. But I didn't. I just stood there, watching the woman I had loved for years walk out the door without a second thought. No tears. No goodbye. No hesitation. She didn't even look back. The door slammed shut. And just like that, she was gone. I stood there for a long time, staring at the closed door, waiting for something, anything, to make this feel real. But nothing did, because the truth was too big to process all at once. One second I was a husband. The next I was nothing. I finally sat down on the couch, my hands gripping my face, my entire body numb. And then, like a delayed reaction, it hit me. She was gone. She had walked out of my life without looking back. And the worst part? She had been planning it all along. Everything we built, every memory, every promise, it had all been a lie. And I had been too blind to see it. But that night, that was the moment I stopped being blind. Because if she thought she could just walk away and leave me broken, she had no idea who she was dealing with. And in 4 months, she was going to regret everything. They say time heals all wounds. They're wrong. Time doesn't heal anything. It just teaches you how to live with the pain. For the first few weeks after Laura walked out, I wasn't living. I was existing, moving through the days and the days, feeling like a ghost in my own home. She had been everything to me. And now she was gone, and she had taken a part of me with her. Or at least, that's what I thought at first. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that losing her would be the best thing that ever happened to me. Because in those 4 months, I didn't just learn to live without her. I learned to become someone new. The first few weeks after she left were a blur of misery. I couldn't eat. I barely slept. I stopped answering calls and messages from friends. I went to work, came home, and sat in the dark wondering what the hell happened to my life. Every room in the house reminded me of her. The bed? Too big. Too empty. The kitchen? I still had her favorite snacks in the pantry. The bathroom? Her shampoo bottle was still there, even though she wasn't. I couldn't bring myself to throw anything away, because throwing things away meant admitting she was never coming back. And a part of me, the weak, broken part, still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, she would. But she didn't. And slowly, reality started to sink in. I don't know what changed first. Maybe it was the realization that she never even checked on me. No texts, no calls, nothing. She had spent years telling me she loved me. And the second she walked away, I stopped existing to her. That's when the anger started creeping in. At first, it was a dull burn like a low fire in the background. But then, one night, I made a mistake. I checked her social media, and there she was, smiling, laughing, drinking with friends, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't ripped my heart out and walked away without a second thought. And that's when I snapped. I grabbed my phone, opened our old messages, and started scrolling, looking for something, anything, that would make this make sense. And then I saw it. A message from her, a few weeks before she left. I love you. Can't wait for our weekend together. A lie. A fucking lie. She had been planning to leave. She had been pretending to love me while she was already halfway out the door. That was the moment I realized something important. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. And that anger, it became my fuel. I looked in the mirror that night, and for the first time in a long time, I hated what I saw. Hollow eyes, weak posture, a man who had lost himself in a woman who never deserved him. And I knew right then I was done. Done grieving. Done feeling sorry for myself. Done being the man she walked away from. So I started rebuilding myself from the ground up. A, the physical change. I hadn't stepped foot in a gym in years. That changed overnight. I signed up for a membership and pushed myself harder than I ever had before. Every weight I lifted, that was the weight of my old self, being ripped apart, muscle by muscle. Every mile I ran, that was me putting distance between who I was and who I was becoming. The pain in my body was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. But the difference? This pain was building me up, not breaking me down. B, the mental shift. I started reading again. Self-improvement, psychology, books on power, control, success. I wanted to understand how people manipulate and deceive, because I would never let myself be played like that again. I took a step back from social media, distractions, negativity. Instead, I focused on me. New hobbies, new skills, new mindset. I had spent years investing in someone who never deserved it. Now, I was investing in myself. C, the social reset. Laura had taken more than just my heart. She had taken my social life too. Most of the friends we had, they were closer to her. So I let them go. Instead, I reconnected with people I had lost touch with. I started going out alone, not to drown my sorrows, but to experience life without her shadow hanging over me. And slowly, something amazing happened. I started enjoying my own company. I didn't need her. I never had. By the time 4 months had passed, I was unrecognizable. Physically, stronger. Mentally, sharper. Emotionally, colder. I had no love left for her, just indifference. And that's when the funniest thing happened. She reached out. A simple text. Hey, can we talk? I stared at my screen for a long time. Not because I was conflicted, but because I realized something incredible. I felt nothing. Not pain. Not anger. Not longing. Just calm. Because now I was in control. And whatever she wanted to talk about, she had no idea that she was about to regret ever leaving me in the first place. It had been 4 months since she walked out of my life. For months since she looked me in the eyes and told me she couldn't be with me anymore. For months since I stood in that empty house, feeling like I had just been erased from my own existence. And now she wanted to talk. I stared at my phone, reading her message again. Hey, can we talk? For words. For goddamn words. No apology. No explanation. Just a casual request. Like she hadn't shattered my world and walked away without looking back. I could have ignored it. But something inside me said, wait. See what she wants. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted her back. But because I knew whatever brought her back, it wasn't love. And I wanted to watch her squirm. I didn't answer right away. I let her wait. The old me? He would have responded immediately. He would have been desperate for answers, begging to know why she left. But I wasn't that man anymore. So I went to the gym. I went to work. I went out with friends. And 2 days later, when I finally replied, all I said was, what do you want? Her response came within minutes. like she had been waiting, watching, hoping. Can we meet? I need to talk to you in person. I smirked. Oh, she needed to talk now? When I needed her, she left. When I had questions, she had none. When I wanted answers, she refused to give them. But now she wanted to sit face to face. That told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't reaching out because she cared. She was reaching out because something had gone terribly wrong for her, and she thought I was still the fool who would save her. I agreed to meet her, but on my terms. A public place. A neutral setting. I wasn't going to let her step foot in my home ever again. So we met at a cafe, one we used to go to years ago when we were still happy. I arrived first, ordered my drink, sat by the window, and then she walked in. For a second, I almost laughed, because she looked different, not in a good way. She had lost weight, not in a healthy way, but in a stress-worn, exhausted way. The glow she used to have? Gone. The confidence in her walk? Faded. She spotted me and hesitated for a second before walking over. Hey, she said, forcing a smile as she sat down. I leaned back, calm, collected, unaffected. Talk. She flinched at my tone. She wasn't expecting that. She was expecting warmth, familiarity, softness. But I had none of that left for her. She sighed, playing with her cup, avoiding my gaze. I know I hurt you. I know leaving like that was selfish. I raised an eyebrow. Selfish? That's the word you're going with. She swallowed. I was confused. I needed time to figure things out. I let out a short laugh. For months wasn't enough. She bit her lip, looking down. I could tell she wasn't sure how to answer that. Because the truth? She hadn't left to figure things out. She had left because she thought she was upgrading. And now, that upgrade had fallen apart. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. Cut the bullshit, Laura. Why are you really here? She looked up, and for the first time I saw it. Desperation. Not sadness. Not guilt. Pure, unfiltered desperation. And that's when I knew I was right. Something had gone terribly wrong for her. She took a deep breath, hesitating, and then finally admitted it. I made a mistake. There it was. I didn't say anything. I just waited, because I wanted to hear her say it. I thought I needed something different. I thought I wasn't happy anymore. But she trailed off, her voice breaking slightly. But it wasn't what I thought it would be. I tilted my head. What wasn't? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. She hesitated, then whispered, "Him." And there it was. The confirmation. The proof. She had left me for another man. And now that man had thrown her away. And she had nowhere else to go. I thought he was different, she continued, voice trembling. I thought he really cared about me. But he changed. He wasn't who I thought he was. I just stared at her. No sympathy. No emotion. Because why the hell should I feel bad for her? She had left without a second thought. She had looked me in the eyes and told me she didn't love me anymore. And now she wanted pity because the man she left me for treated her like garbage? I took a slow sip of my coffee. So let me get this straight. She blinked at me. You left me because you thought you could do better. You threw away everything we built because some other guy looked exciting. And now that he's done with you, you suddenly remember I exist? She opened her mouth. I never meant to. Shut up. Her lips snapped shut. I leaned forward, my voice low, sharp, unforgiving. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. And now, you have to live with it. She swallowed hard. But can't we? I smirked. No, Laura, we can't. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and tossed a few bills on the table. You thought you were leaving me behind. But the truth. I stared down at her, my voice calm, almost amused. I left you the moment you walked out that door. And then, I walked away. Because she had already been replaced. Not by another woman, but by a new version of me. A version that didn't need her. A version that had already won. And her? She had nothing left. Not love. Not security. Not even my sympathy. Just regret. And that was the perfect revenge. I don't think a man is ever truly prepared to hear something that shatters his entire world. I always thought if my marriage ever faced trouble, I'd see the signs first. That I'd notice the cracks forming before everything collapsed. But I was wrong. The truth didn't come gradually. It didn't reveal itself through fights, distance, or sudden changes in affection. It came all at once like a knife being driven straight into my back, while I stood there listening, unable to do anything about it. And the worst part? It wasn't a confession meant for me. It was a casual conversation between my wife and her sister, spoken with zero hesitation, zero guilt, and zero remorse. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did, and it destroyed me. It started like any other night. I had just gotten home from work, tired but content. Laura, my wife, had told me earlier in the day that her sister, Megan, was coming over for a girls' night. That wasn't unusual. They were close, always had been. So, when I got home and saw Megan's car in the driveway, I didn't think much of it. I walked inside, expecting to be greeted like always. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. That's when I heard them, voices coming from the living room. At first, I wasn't even trying to eavesdrop. I figured they were just talking about the usual stuff, family gossip, TV shows, maybe even complaining about work. But then I heard my name, and everything changed. I don't know why I stopped in my tracks. Maybe it was the tone of Laura's voice. Maybe it was the way she sighed heavily, like she was about to say something she had been holding in for a long time. I stepped closer, just out of sight, my body tensed, my heartbeat suddenly too loud in my own ears. And then I heard it, clear as day. "I don't love him, Megan." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I felt my whole body go cold. Megan's voice was softer, hesitant. "Are you sure, Laura? I mean, you've been together for so long." Laura scoffed. "Yeah, I'm sure. I don't feel anything for him anymore. I haven't for a while." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I pressed my back against the wall, gripping the edge of the door frame just to stay standing. My wife, the woman I gave everything to, had just said she didn't love me. And she said it so easily, like it was nothing, like I was nothing. Megan hesitated. "Then why are you still with him?" Laura laughed. A cold, careless laugh. "Because it's convenient. He pays the bills, he takes care of everything, and, honestly, he doesn't even suspect a thing." I clenched my fists. My knuckles turned white. She was using me. Megan's voice dropped. "But Laura, that's not fair to him." "Fair? Fair?" That was when Laura said the words that would change me forever. "It doesn't matter. I'm going to cheat on him anyway." My heart stopped. I had to replay her words in my head, again and again, just to make sure I heard them right. I'm going to cheat on him anyway. Not I made a mistake. Not it happened and I regret it. Now I don't know what to do. She hadn't even done it yet, but she had already made up her mind. She was planning it, thinking about it, deciding exactly how she was going to betray me. And she didn't care. Megan sighed again. "Laura, seriously?" Laura just shrugged. "Look, it's not like I'm in love with him. I don't get excited to see him anymore. There's no passion, no thrill. I need something new, something exciting." I had heard enough. I turned away, my whole body shaking with something I had never felt before. Not just anger, not just pain, something darker. Because I had been nothing but a good husband. Because I had given her everything. Because I had trusted her blindly, and she was ready to throw me away like I was nothing. And worst of all, she had no idea I was standing right there. No guilt, no hesitation, not even a single moment of doubt. That was the moment I knew I wasn't dealing with a mistake. I was dealing with a monster in disguise. I don't remember how long I stood there. Minutes? Hours? Time didn't feel real anymore. All I knew was that I wasn't the same man who had walked into that house earlier. Something inside me had cracked. For years, I had worshipped the ground she walked on. I had gone out of my way to make her happy, to support her, to be the best husband I could be. And this was what I got in return. This was how she talked about me when she thought I wasn't listening. Like I was just some ATM she could use until she got bored. Like I wasn't a man with feelings. Like I wasn't a human being at all. The pain was unbearable. But beneath that pain, something new was starting to grow. Something cold. Something merciless. Because if she thought I was going to sit back and let her walk all over me, if she thought I was just going to accept my fate and let her betray me, she was dead wrong. I should have walked into the living room right then and there. I should have confronted her. I should have demanded answers. But I didn't, because I realized something important. I had the advantage now. She thought I was clueless. She thought I was some pathetic husband blindly devoted to her. She thought I was just a fool who would never see the truth. That meant she wouldn't suspect anything. And that was the greatest weapon I could ever have. I took a deep breath. then another. And finally, I turned away, walking away from the conversation, from the heartbreak, from the old version of me that died in that moment. I wasn't going to beg her to love me. I wasn't going to ask why. I was going to let her dig her own grave. And when the time was right, I was going to bury her in it. There's a kind of pain that doesn't just hurt, it changes you. That night, as I walked away from my wife's betrayal, I felt it creeping in, swallowing me whole. It wasn't just heartbreak. It wasn't just rage. It was something else entirely. A feeling that stripped away everything I used to be. A feeling that took the man I was, the loving, trusting husband, and killed him on the spot. The man who walked into that house earlier, thinking he had a wife who loved him, he didn't exist anymore. And the man who took his place? He was about to become someone entirely different. At first, the pain was unbearable. I locked myself in the bedroom that night, replaying the words in my head over and over again. I don't love him, Megan. I'm going to cheat on him. It's convenient. He pays the bills. He doesn't suspect a thing. Each sentence was like a hammer to my chest, pounding away at every memory, every moment, every stupid dream I had built around her. I had loved her blindly. I had given her everything. I had trusted her like a fool. And now, I was nothing more than a paycheck to her. That realization was worse than the idea of her cheating, because it meant she had never truly loved me. Maybe she had in the beginning. Maybe she had meant her wedding vows when she said them. But somewhere along the way, she had changed, and I had been too blind to notice. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping my face, trying to stop myself from falling apart. I thought about confronting her, about storming into the living room, screaming, demanding an explanation. But then, a darker thought entered my mind. Why should I give her the satisfaction? Why should I let her see my pain? Why should I make it easier for her? She was already planning to betray me. She had already written me off as an idiot who would never see the truth. So why not let her think she was right? Pain could do two things to a man. It can break him completely, leaving him bitter and lost. Or it can harden him into something unrecognizable. I chose the latter, because if Laura wanted to play this game, she was about to learn that she had been playing against the wrong man. I took a deep breath, forcing the pain to settle into something colder. This wasn't about love anymore. This wasn't about heartbreak. This was about strategy. This was about control. And most importantly, this was about revenge. I knew if I wanted to destroy her, I had to be smart. Acting on raw emotion would get me nowhere. So I set rules for myself. Rule number 1, no confrontation. I wasn't going to let her see my anger. I wasn't going to let her know I had overheard her. I would play the role of the clueless, devoted husband. I would let her believe she was getting away with it. Because when the time came, she would never see my revenge coming. Rule number 2, gather every piece of evidence. I needed proof. Proof of her affair. Proof of her lies. Proof of her betrayal. And I needed it before she even made her first move. She was still in the planning stage of cheating, which meant I had time to get ahead. I started checking her phone habits. Not just texts, but who she called, how often she left the room to talk, how much time she spent typing when she thought I wasn't looking. I started tracking her schedule, paying attention to when she left the house more than usual. And most importantly, I set up hidden cameras in the house, small, discreet, placed in areas where I knew she wouldn't suspect. If she was going to betray me, I was going to catch every single second of it. Rule number 3, make her comfortable. The more relaxed she was, the more careless she would become. So I started acting normal. I laughed with her. I kissed her. I made love to her like nothing had changed. And the whole time, I was watching her like a hawk. Because this wasn't love anymore. This was war. The hardest part of my plan was waiting. There were nights where the anger burned so hot inside me that I thought I'd explode. I'd hear her on the phone in the next room, laughing softly, whispering secrets to someone I didn't know. And every time I heard it, I had to fight the urge to rip the door open and confront her right then and there. But I reminded myself, patience was key. If I waited long enough, if I let her feel safe, she would make a mistake. And that mistake will be the moment I destroyed her life forever. A few weeks later, Laura started acting bolder. She started dressing up more when she left the house. She started coming home late with weak excuses. And the final nail in the coffin? One night, I found a second phone hidden in her closet. A cheap burner phone. Locked. Protected. But the very fact that she had it was all I needed to confirm that my plan was working. She thought she was outsmarting me. She thought she was winning. And that was when I knew she had no idea what was coming next. Because while she had spent all this time sneaking around, lying, preparing for her betrayal, I had spent all this time building the perfect trap for her to fall into. And soon, I was going to spring it shut. And when that happened, she wouldn't just regret cheating on me. She would regret ever thinking she could play me for a fool. Revenge isn't about rage. It's not about snapping, screaming, or throwing things. That's what weak men do. Real revenge? It's patience. It's control. It's watching your enemy smile, thinking they've won, while you tighten the noose around their neck inch by inch. And that's exactly what I did. Laura thought she was getting away with it. She had no idea that every move she made, every lie she told, every whisper in her burner phone, I was watching it all unfold. And I was waiting, because when I finally made my move, she wouldn't just feel regret. She would feel ruin. If I wanted my plan to work, I had to be convincing. Laura couldn't suspect anything. So I did what any smart man would do. I became the perfect husband again. I stopped asking her questions. I stopped acting distant. I smiled more. I kissed her good morning like I meant it. I held her in bed like I still loved her. I made her favorite meals, took her out on dates, laughed at her stupid jokes. And the result? She let her guard down completely. I could see it, the way her shoulders relaxed when I didn't question where she was going, the way she stopped being so careful with her lies. She thought she was safe. She thought I was blind. And that's exactly what I wanted her to believe. While she enjoyed the illusion of her perfect double life, I was working in the shadows. I installed tracking software on her phone. Nothing too obvious, just a small GPS tool that let me know exactly where she was when she went out with friends. I cloned her burner phone. I spent hours in silence, reading through her secret texts. Him, can't wait to see you again. Laura, me too. I hate sneaking around, but it makes it even more exciting. My fingers tightened around my phone, my jaw clenching as I scrolled. Exciting. That's how she described betraying me. Not wrong. Not heartbreaking. Not a mistake. Exciting. I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. This was good. This meant she was comfortable enough to be careless. And careless people make mistakes. I wasn't just planning to expose her. I was planning to end her completely. So I started collecting everything. Screenshots of her messages, call logs, bank statements showing suspicious transactions, hotel stays, expensive dinners, gifts. And, of course, the final weapon, I had hidden cameras in the house now. Small, undetectable. One in the living room, one in the bedroom, one near the front door. I wanted to catch everything. Because when I was done, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose everything. Laura started to act differently. More confident. More distant. She stopped caring if she came home late. She stopped pretending to be interested in our conversations. At dinner, she would smile at her phone, texting someone while I sat across from her, pretending not to notice. It was almost funny how easily she believed her own lies. But I didn't let it get to me, because the moment she felt the most secure in her new life, that's when I would take everything away from her. One night, she made a fatal mistake. She was in the bathroom, talking on the phone, thinking I was asleep. I stood outside the door listening. Laura, no, don't worry. He doesn't suspect a thing. He's too busy being a good little husband. A pause. Then she laughed, a real, happy laugh. The kind I hadn't heard in years. Laura, I can't wait to finally be with you. I just have to figure out how to break things off without making it messy. Break things off? Not if, but when. She had already decided to leave me. She was just waiting for the right moment to tear my life apart. That was all I needed to hear. I turned away, walked back to bed, and lay down with a smile. Because now I was done waiting. I had everything I needed. The proof, the knowledge, the power. Now, it was time to execute the plan. I wasn't just going to confront her. I wasn't just going to expose her affair. I was going to humiliate her, destroy her, make her regret every single second she ever took me for a fool. And when I was done, she would realize something far worse than losing me. She would realize that she had been nothing more than a pawn in my game, because she thought she was playing me. But in the end, I had played her all along. Revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting ahead. It's about taking away everything from the person who thought they could walk all over you. Laura thought she had one. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger, a blind, devoted husband who would never see the truth until it was too late. But she was wrong, because while she was sneaking around, planning to cheat, planning to leave me, I was 3 steps ahead, planning to destroy her completely. And when the moment finally came, she never saw it coming. The first thing I did was take away her comfort. She had been living off me for years. I paid for the house. I paid for the car. I paid for everything. She thought she could cheat on me while still using my money? Not a chance. So, I started making moves quietly. I met with a lawyer and began transferring my assets into a private account, one she had no access to. I canceled the credit card she used. I withdrew every penny from our shared account and moved it into a separate legal fund. I changed the house title to my name only. She would have no claim to it after the divorce. And then, I sat back and waited for her to notice. It didn't take long. One afternoon, I was sitting in the living room when she stormed inside, her face twisted in confusion and anger. "Babe, my card got declined at the store. Do you know what's going on?" I looked up at her, feigning innocence. "Really? That's weird. Maybe you should check with the bank." I watched her try to hide her frustration, but I could see the panic in her eyes. Her perfect little world had just been shaken, and I was just getting started. I wasn't just going to kick her out quietly. No, she had to suffer publicly. She had to feel the same humiliation she had been planning for me. So, I sent out the proof. Everything I had gathered, the texts, the secret burner phone, the messages, the hotel receipts, everything. And I made sure the right people got them. Her family, our mutual friends, even her workplace. I wanted everyone to see who she really was. I wanted them to know she had thrown away a devoted husband for a cheap, meaningless affair. And when the messages started rolling in, when people started calling her out, questioning her, turning their backs on her, she came running back to me. It took less than 48 hours for Laura's life to completely crumble. Her family, disgusted. Her friends, betrayed. Her job, in jeopardy. She walked through the front door one evening, eyes red, breath shaky. "Why would you do this?" she whispered. I smiled. "Why would I do what?" Her hands curled into fists. "You ruined me." I let out a small laugh, shaking my head. "No, Laura, you ruined yourself." She stared at me, speechless, because deep down, she knew I was right. She had been so sure she could lie to me, cheat on me, and still keep the comfortable life I had built for her. But now she had nothing. She still didn't fully realize it. She still thought she could fix this. "We can talk about this, babe. Let's just take a break. Maybe I made a mistake, but we can work through this." I tilted my head, pretending to think about it. Then I smiled. "Yeah, no. Get out." Her face fell. "W what?" I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "Divorce papers. Already signed. And since everything is in my name now, you have exactly 1 hour to get your things and leave." She froze, staring at the papers, then back at me. "You can't just throw me out." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Watch me." She hesitated, probably trying to come up with some excuse, some way to manipulate me. But she saw the look in my eyes. She knew it was over. So, with tears welling up in her eyes, she turned and walked upstairs. I heard her packing, rushed, panicked, like she couldn't believe this was happening. And when she finally walked out the door, suitcase in hand, she looked at me one last time. "I never thought you'd do this to me." I smiled. "And I never thought you'd be stupid enough to ruin your own life. But here we are." And then, I closed the door in her face. I didn't hear from her for weeks after that. I thought maybe she had moved on, found some way to rebuild her life. But then, I got a text from Megan, her sister. She's staying at a friend's house. She has no money, no job, no car. She's completely lost, and she won't stop crying. She wants to talk to you. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then I simply replied, "Not my problem." And I meant it, because Laura had made her choice. She thought she could play me for a fool. She thought I would always be there, waiting for her. But now, she had to live with the consequences. And for the rest of her life, she would know. She had a man who loved her, provided for her, protected her, and she threw it all away. Now, she had nothing. And me? I had everything. Because I had won. This was the revenge she never saw coming. She thought she was destroying me. But in the end, I destroyed her first. I always thought I would see it coming. If my marriage ever fell apart, if my wife ever decided to leave me, I thought I'd notice the signs, a change in her behavior, distant eyes, cold touches, fewer words. But I was wrong, because when it happened, it came out of nowhere, like a bullet to the chest, like a knife slid between my ribs while I wasn't looking. It was just another day, a normal, forgettable day, until my phone rang. And when I answered, everything I thought I knew about my life changed forever. I was sitting in my car, parked outside a convenience store. I had just picked up a few things for dinner. Nothing special, just another quiet night at home. Laura, my wife, was supposed to be waiting for me, but instead, my phone lit up with her name. At first, I smiled. I figured she was calling to ask me to grab something else from the store. Milk, wine, maybe something sweet. But the second I answered, I knew something was wrong. Her voice was strange, distant, cold. I can't kiss your mouth anymore. That was the first thing she said. Not, hey babe. Not, can you grab something on your way home? Not, we need to talk. Just those 7 words slicing through me like a blade. I sat there, frozen. What? Her next words were even worse. Forget me. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Laura, what the hell are you talking about? My voice was shaky, but I barely noticed. She exhaled sharply on the other end. Not a sigh of sadness. Not hesitation. It sounded like relief. Like someone who had finally ripped off a bandage. I can't do this anymore. I don't love you. I don't even want to touch you. It's over. The world around me blurred. The people walking past my car. The cars honking in the distance. The sound of my own breathing. It all faded into nothing. Laura, where are you? Are you at home? Silence. Then she laughed. A small, bitter laugh. No, I'm not home. And I'm not coming back. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My heartbeat was pounding in my ears, but I forced myself to stay calm. What the hell is going on, Laura? My voice was steady, but barely. Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. Her tone was empty. Not sad. Not regretful. Not even angry. Just gone. Like I wasn't a person she had loved for years. Like I wasn't even real. You don't just wake up and decide to disappear, Laura. I was trying to reason with her, try to pull her back to reality. But reality had already slipped through my fingers. I didn't wake up and decide this today, she said quietly. I've been feeling this way for a long time. A long time. I closed my eyes, a wave of nausea hitting me. All those nights, I told her I loved her. Had she already checked out? All the times I reached for her, and she didn't pull away. Was she just pretending? All the moments I thought we were happy. Was I the only one who felt it? Are you with someone else? The words fell from my mouth before I could stop them. I didn't want to ask, because I already knew the answer. The pause on the other end was just long enough to make my stomach turn. Then she said it. It doesn't matter. I let out a slow, shaky breath. It doesn't matter? I repeated, my voice lower, colder. No, she said simply. Because it's over, and nothing you say will change that. There was something so final about the way she said it. Like she had already moved on. Like I was a chapter she had already finished reading. I could feel something inside me breaking apart, piece by piece. So that's it. I whispered. No response. You're just going to disappear? Like I never existed? More silence. Then a soft sigh. Goodbye. The line went dead. And just like that, she was gone. I sat there for God knows how long, gripping my phone like I could somehow pull her back through the screen. The seconds stretched into minutes. The minutes felt like forever. I should have called her back. I should have driven to find her. I should have done something. But instead, I sat there in my car, staring blankly at the dashboard, feeling like someone had ripped my soul out of my chest. The woman I had loved, cherished, built a life with had just vanished with a single phone call. No fight, no discussion, no closure. Just gone. I replayed her words over and over. I can't kiss your mouth anymore. Forget me. I ran my tongue over my lips, tried to remember the last time she kissed me. Had she already felt this way back then? Had she been faking it for months? Had she already made up her mind while I was still loving her blindly? A sharp, bitter laugh escaped my throat. I felt sick. I felt dead inside. And then, slowly, I felt something else entirely, because the pain was twisting into something new, something colder, something darker. I don't even want to touch you anymore. Forget me. No, no, Laura. You don't just get to walk away like I never existed. And when I got home, I was going to make sure you regretted every second of this. The world outside my car felt unreal. The streetlights blurred into streaks of gold as I sped past them. The dull hum of traffic and distant honking felt like they belonged to another universe, one where I still had a wife waiting for me at home. But in this universe, Laura was gone, and I was driving home to an empty house. My fingers gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My breathing was shallow, uneven, like I had just been punched in the gut and hadn't fully recovered. I kept replaying her words over and over in my head. I can't kiss your mouth anymore. Forget me. What the hell kind of goodbye was that? No reason. No warning. Just forget me. I wanted to believe this was some kind of joke. Some kind of test. Maybe she wanted to see if I'd chase after her. Maybe she was having some kind of breakdown and needed space. Maybe. But deep down, I knew the truth. She meant it. She had planned this. That was the part that made my stomach turn. Laura had been thinking about this for a long time. While I was waking up next to her every morning, making her coffee, kissing her goodnight, she was already deciding how to leave me. And I had been too blind to see it. A choked, bitter laugh escaped my throat. What a fucking fool I was. When you love someone, you look at them through a filter. You see them the way you want to see them. You remember the good. You focus on the happy moments. You ignore the red flags because you want to believe that what you have is real. But when that love is ripped away, when the person you trusted the most throws you away like garbage, that filter shatters. And suddenly, I could see everything clearly. The way she had stopped saying I love you first. The way she would pull away slightly when I kissed her. The way she had started spending more time on her phone, smiling at messages she never shared. At the time, I had convinced myself it was stress, normal relationship ups and downs. But now I saw it for what it really was. She had checked out long before she left. She had been going through the motions, waiting for the moment she could finally cut me loose. And the worst part? She didn't even have the decency to say it to my face. She called me like I was some random guy she used to know. Not her husband. Not the man who gave her years of his life. Just someone to be discarded with a phone call. The more I thought about it, the more furious I became. At first, it had been shock, disbelief, heartbreak. But now, anger was creeping in. She left me. She didn't explain. She refused to tell me the truth. And worst of all, she expected me to just accept it. Like I was some pathetic little man who would sit in silence and just forget her. Forget? Was she out of her mind? Did she really think I could just erase her from my life like she never existed? I gritted my teeth, my jaw so tight it hurt. No, she wasn't going to get away with this. She wasn't going to walk away without consequences. And she sure as hell wasn't going to forget me. My fingers twitched over the phone sitting in the passenger seat. I had the urge to call her, to scream, to demand answers. But I knew she wouldn't pick up. Laura was gone. She had made her choice. And that meant I had to figure out the truth on my own. And the first question that clawed at my brain was the one I had asked her before she hung up. Are you with someone else? That single pause before she answered. The way she had said, it doesn't matter. I knew what that meant. I wasn't stupid. There was someone else. Maybe she had been seeing him in secret. Maybe she had fallen for someone new and didn't have the courage to tell me. Or maybe she had been waiting for the right moment to leave me for him. The thought made my stomach turn, because if that was true, if she had betrayed me like that, then I was about to become the coldest, most calculating version of myself I had ever been. I wasn't just going to let her run away into his arms like nothing happened. She had shattered my life, and I was going to make sure she felt every single piece of it. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I wasn't the same man who had left the house earlier that day. That man had been loving, trusting, hopeful. That man had believed in his wife. That man had been weak. But now I was something else. Something darker. Something stronger. I shut off the engine and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the front door of my house. Our house. But not anymore. Now it was just mine. And when I walked inside, I wasn't going to sit around and cry. I wasn't going to wallow in self-pity. I was going to take back control. because she thought she could leave me without consequences. But she had no idea. She had just created a version of me she was going to regret. The driveway felt different. For years, I had pulled into this exact spot, turned off the engine, and walked into a home that felt warm, welcoming mine. But tonight, it felt like a graveyard, a place where something had died. I took a slow breath, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Laura was gone, but what the hell had she left behind? I needed to know. So I opened the door, stepped out, and walked into the house for the first time as a man who had been abandoned. The moment I stepped inside, I realized something was wrong. Not in a loud, chaotic way. No, it was the absence of something. The silence. No quiet hum of the TV in the background. No faint sound of her humming a song while she cooked. No perfume lingering in the air. Just nothing. A heavy, unnatural stillness that pressed against my chest. And for the first time since she called me, I felt it fully. The emptiness. The cold, undeniable fact that this house wasn't ours anymore. It was just mine, and suddenly it felt too damn big. I walked through the living room slowly, my footsteps too loud against the silence. Everything looked the same. The couch was still in its place. The framed pictures were still on the shelves. The coffee cup she used that morning was still sitting on the table. For a second, I felt insane. Like maybe I had imagined the whole thing. Maybe she was in the bedroom, getting ready for bed, waiting for me to come in and kiss her goodnight. Maybe. But then I saw it. The missing pieces. The empty coat rack, where her favorite jacket used to hang. The space on the dresser where her jewelry box had been. The bathroom counter, her toothbrush gone. Little things, but enough to tell me that she had been here. She had come home, and she had chosen what to take and what to leave behind. Like she had carefully erased herself from my life. I forced myself to walk toward my bedroom. I pushed open the door, my heart pounding like a drum. And that's when I saw the worst of it. The closet, half empty. Her clothes gone, but mine still hanging like nothing had changed. The nightstand, bare, no more books stacked on her side. No more hair ties tossed carelessly on top. The bed, still made, except now there was only one pillow. I stood there, staring, trying to understand how the hell this had happened. 1 minute, she was here. The next, she was just a memory. And what killed me the most? She left the wedding ring. It was sitting on my nightstand. Not thrown. Not abandoned in anger. Just placed there deliberately. Like she wanted me to see it. Like she wanted me to know this was final. I reached out, picking up the ring with shaking fingers. It felt wrong in my palm. Cold. Heavy. Like everything it stood for had been drained from it. Like it wasn't a symbol of love anymore. It was just scrap metal. I almost didn't see it. A small envelope tucked under the edge of the lamp. My name on the front. I knew what it was before I even touched it. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to hear whatever bullshit excuse she had left behind. But I had to. So I tore it open. I know this is selfish. I know this will hurt you. But I can't pretend anymore. I need to go. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just empty words on a piece of paper. She didn't even have the decency to say it to my face. And that's when something inside me snapped. I felt it building, the rage, the grief, the disbelief. It crawled up my spine, wrapping around my chest, making it hard to breathe. Because I had loved this woman. I had given her everything. And she had just walked away like I was nothing. Like I was forgettable. Like I was just a chapter in her story she had finished reading. My grip on the letter tightened. And before I even realized what I was doing, I tore it in half. Then again, and again, until the pieces were nothing but shreds of paper falling to the floor. And I just stood there, heart pounding, breath shaking, hands clenched into fists. And for the first time since I got that call, I felt nothing but anger. Not sadness, not heartbreak, just pure, burning fury. Because Laura might have thought she could walk away and leave me broken. She might have thought I would sit in this house, drowning in misery, waiting for her to come back. But she was wrong. She had no idea who she just betrayed. And when I was done, she was going to regret every second of this. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't just hurt, it changes you. At first, I thought her leaving was the worst part. The shock, the emptiness, the way she vanished from my life like I never mattered. But I was wrong. Because the worst part? The worst part was finding out why she left. And when I did, it destroyed me. For days, I lived in a haze. Everything felt unreal. I went to work, went through the motions, came home to an empty house, but none of it felt real. Because my mind wouldn't shut up. It kept playing the same questions on repeat. Why did she do this? Was there someone else? Had she planned this for months? Was I just an idiot who ignored the signs? I thought about our last few weeks together. I thought about how she had still kissed me, touched me, slept next to me. Had she already checked out by then? Had she already been thinking about leaving while I was still loving her? I needed answers, because I refused to be left in the dark like some fool. I refused to be the only one suffering. So I started digging, and that's when I found the first clue. It started with a random bill. I had been sorting through our finances, trying to figure out what needed to be updated now that I was alone. And that's when I saw it. A charge I didn't recognize. A hotel booking, 2 weeks before she left. My stomach twisted into a tight knot. She had told me she was visiting her sister that weekend. But this was not her sister's house. I felt my heart pounding against my ribs as I logged into our joint bank account and started going through the transactions more carefully. And that's when I saw all of it. Expensive dinners for 2. Weekend getaways without me. A second phone plan, one I never knew existed. My hands were shaking by the time I put the statements down. Because there was no doubt now. She hadn't left because she needed space. She hadn't left because she wasn't happy. She had left because she had someone else. I could have stopped there. I could have accepted what I already knew. That she had betrayed me. That she had thrown away everything we built for another man. But I needed to see it for myself. I needed to know who he was. So I kept digging. And I found him. His name was Daniel. A co-worker. Someone she had been working with for over a year. And the worst part? He was married. My wife hadn't just left me. She had destroyed another marriage, too. I stared at his photo, my jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. This was the man she had thrown me away for. A man who had his own wife, his own family. A man who had been smiling in my face while sleeping with my wife behind my back. I felt something inside me snap. The pain, the heartbreak, the grief, all of it disappeared. And in its place, cold, calculated rage. Because now that I knew the truth, I wasn't just going to sit here and suffer. No, I was going to make both of them regret every second of what they had done. I sat back in my chair, exhaling slowly. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My breathing was even. Because now I had clarity. Laura hadn't left because she was unhappy. She hadn't left because she needed space. She had left because she had been sleeping with someone else for months. She had left because she thought she had found something better. She had left because she believed I would never find out. But now I knew everything. And that meant I was in control. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. Laura had made a mistake. A big mistake. She had thought I would be too broken to fight back. She had thought I would just accept my fate. But she had underestimated me. Because now that I knew the truth, I wasn't just going to sit back and take it. I was going to make them both suffer. And when I was done, Laura was going to wish she had never left. The moment I discovered the truth, something inside me shifted. The man I used to be, the one who loved blindly, who trusted without question, was gone. Laura had left me for another man. She had lied to my face, betrayed our marriage, and thought she could walk away without consequences. She thought I would be too broken to fight back. But she had underestimated me. Because now, I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to make sure she regretted every second of what she had done. And I had 3 options. I could walk away and find redemption. I could destroy her and get my revenge. Or I could do something she'd never see coming. And as I sat there, staring at the evidence of her affair, I knew exactly which path I was going to take. I didn't want an emotional reaction. I wanted a strategy. Laura had been playing games behind my back. Lying, sneaking around, thinking she was in control. But now I was in control. So I started planning. And the first thing I did, I reached out to Daniel's wife. I found her number in less than an hour. Her name was Rebecca. She had been married to Daniel for 6 years. And just like me, she had no idea that her husband was sleeping with my wife. I dialed the number and waited. Hello. Her voice was soft, confused. She didn't recognize my number. I took a deep breath. Rebecca, You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. She hesitated. Who is this? I'm Laura's husband. Silence. Then a slow, shaky breath on the other end. What do you mean? I mean your husband has been fucking my wife for months. A sharp inhale. No, that's not possible. I exhaled slowly. Check his bank statements. Look at his messages. Look at the hotel charges. I have proof. She was silent for a long time. Then, finally, her voice dropped to a whisper. Send it to me. I sent her everything. The texts, the hotel receipts, the timeline of their affair. I gave her every weapon she needed. Because if there was one person who deserved to know the truth as much as I did, it was her. And once she had it, I sat back and let the chaos unfold. The fallout was immediate. The next day, Daniel's wife confronted him. And guess what? He crumbled like a fucking coward. He begged. He lied. He tried to deny it. But she had proof. She threw him out. And the best part? She called Laura. And she tore into her. Word for word, she told Laura what she was. A liar. A homewrecker. A woman who threw away her marriage for a man who couldn't even be faithful to his own wife. And Laura? She finally realized what she had done. Because Daniel wasn't going to save her. He was too busy trying to save himself. And suddenly, she had nowhere to go. It took 3 days. 3 days after her affair blew up before she texted me. Can we talk? I laughed when I saw it. Of course, she wanted to talk now. Now that she had lost everything. Her lover. Her safety net. Her perfect little fantasy world. Now she wanted to come back to the man she threw away. So I let her believe she had a chance. I agreed to meet. Not because I want to fix things, but because I wanted to see her face when she realized she had lost me forever. I met her at a small cafe, the same place where we used to have breakfast on Sundays. She was already there when I arrived. And when I saw her, she looked different. Not the confident, radiant woman who once told me she loved me. No, she looked exhausted, like someone who had bet everything and lost. I sat down across from her, leaning back in my chair. So, I gestured at her. Talk. She exhaled, biting her lip. I don't even know where to start. I said nothing. I just waited. And finally, she whispered the words I knew were coming. I made a mistake. I smirked. Yeah, you did. Her eyes filled with tears. I miss you. I raised an eyebrow. No, you miss stability. You miss comfort. You miss being taken care of. But you don't miss me. She swallowed hard, shaking her head. That's not true. I thought I wanted something else, but I was wrong. I want to fix things. And there it was. The final, pathetic attempt to rewrite history. Like I was just supposed to forget. Like I was supposed to forgive. But she had burned that bridge the moment she walked out the door. I leaned forward, my voice calm. Laura, you don't get to break me and then come back when it's convenient for you. Her breath hitched. Please. I stood up, looking down at her for the last time. I hope it was worth it. And then I walked away because she had already lost. She had lost the only person who ever truly loved her. And me? I was free. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. And as I walked away, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders, I realized something. Laura had tried to erase me from her life. But in the end, she was the one who became forgettable. I don't think anyone ever expects it. That moment when the person you love, the person you build a life with, looks you in the eyes and says something so shattering that it doesn't just break your heart. It changes you. Because once you hear those words, once they settle into your bones, you can't go back. And for me, that moment happened on a night that was supposed to be like any other. I came home tired but content. It had been a long day at work, the kind that drains you. But in the back of my mind, there was always a sense of comfort knowing I'd be home soon, where she was. Home wasn't just walls and furniture. It was her, Laura, my wife, my partner, my best friend. At least, that's what I thought she was. Looking back now, I should have seen the signs. The subtle shifts in our relationship that I brushed off as nothing. The way her hugs became less frequent, less tight, less lingering. The way she stopped reaching for me first. The way her voice sounded when she said, I love you, like she was just going through the motions. But love makes you blind, doesn't it? You tell yourself that it's just stress, just a phase. just life getting in the way. I never imagined it was something else entirely. I walked in, expecting the usual routine. A kiss, a warm greeting, maybe a quiet dinner together. Instead, I found her sitting on the couch, staring at nothing, her posture too still. Something about the way she sat there sent a weird feeling crawling up my spine. "Hey," I said, setting my keys down. "You okay?" She turned her head slowly, her eyes meeting mine. And what I saw there, it wasn't love. It wasn't anger, sadness, or even guilt. It was just emptiness, like she had already left me in her mind. And then she said it. "I can't hug you anymore." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I let out a soft, confused laugh, thinking I misheard her. "What?" She exhaled, looking away. I can't. I don't want to." The air left my lungs. I blinked, my body suddenly feeling too heavy, like gravity had doubled in strength. "You don't want to hug me?" I repeated slowly, trying to process what the hell was happening. She didn't flinch. She didn't look guilty, didn't cry, didn't even shift uncomfortably. She just sat there, cold, detached, as if she was talking to a stranger. No. My heart was pounding now, my mind scrambling for something, anything that could explain this. Did I do something wrong? No answer. "Are you upset with me? Is there something I should know?" Nothing. Just that same emotionless expression. And then she finally spoke. "I don't feel the same way anymore." There it was. The dagger to the heart. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "Feel the same way about what?" She sighed, like this conversation was exhausting for her. "You. Us." She was already gone. I could see it in the way she spoke. I could hear it in the indifference in her voice. Like I was some mistake she had outgrown. And the worst part? She wasn't even trying to make it easier for me. She wasn't crying. She wasn't conflicted. She had already checked out. I thought about the past few months. Had she been pulling away this whole time? She had been working later. She had been spending more time on her phone. She had been less affectionate, less engaged, less present. I had noticed all of it, but I had ignored it because I didn't want to believe that the woman I loved was slipping away. And now she was telling me, to my face, that she didn't even want to touch me. Like my existence was some burden she no longer wanted to carry. I felt my stomach twist. "Is there someone else?" She finally looked at me, and I saw it. That small, tiny hesitation. A flicker of something in her eyes before she quickly shook her head. No, but it wasn't convincing. It wasn't real. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the anger building in my chest. Because even if she wasn't physically with someone else yet, her heart, it wasn't mine anymore. I took a step back. I needed to breathe, to think, to process this moment before I did something I'd regret. Because my first instinct was to beg, to ask her to reconsider, to ask her why, to try to fix whatever was broken. But as I stood there, staring at her detached expression, I realized something. This wasn't something I could fix, because she didn't want to fix it. She had already made up her mind. And suddenly, something inside me clicked. I didn't need to fight for someone who had already let me go. I didn't need to hold on as someone who had no intention of holding on to me. And I sure as hell didn't need to stay in a life where I was no longer wanted. So I took a deep breath, and then I did something I never thought I'd do. I let her go. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a few seconds. Maybe an hour. Time didn't feel real anymore. All I knew was that something inside me had shattered. Something I would never be able to put back together. She had just told me she couldn't hug me anymore. Like it was the simplest thing in the world. Like I was nothing. And now, I had to figure out how the hell I was supposed to live with that. I don't feel the same way anymore. Her words echoed in my head as I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the floor. I should have left. I should have gotten up and walked out that door, never looking back. But instead, I sat there waiting for her to say something else, waiting for her to take it back, waiting for some explanation that would make this all make sense. But she just stood there, silent, like she had already moved on in her mind. "So that's it?" I finally asked, my voice sounding hollow. She hesitated, and for the first time, she looked uncomfortable, like she wasn't sure what to say, like she was debating how much truth she should give me. But when she finally spoke, it wasn't the truth I was hoping for. "I don't know what else to say." "You don't know?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. You just told me you can't even hug me anymore, and now you don't know what else to say? She swallowed, looking away. I don't want to hurt you. I let out a slow breath, try to control the rage and heartbreak twisting inside me. You don't want to hurt me? I repeated, shaking my head. Then maybe you should start with the truth. She shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through her hair. It's not that simple, but it was very simple. She just didn't want to say it. Something clicked in my head at that moment. I had been ignoring the truth for weeks, maybe even months. The late nights, the distant stares, the forced smiles, the way she would tense up when I touched her. I had seen all the signs, but I had convinced myself that it was just stress, exhaustion, life getting in the way. But that wasn't it, was it? No. She had already checked out. She had already decided to leave. And I had been too blind to see it. Or maybe I just didn't want to see it, because seeing it would have meant accepting that the woman I loved had stopped loving me back. And now here I was, forced to accept it anyway. I wanted to yell. I wanted to demand answers. I wanted her to say something real, something honest, something that actually made sense. But I could see it now. She wasn't going to give me that. She wasn't going to explain why she had been acting different. She wasn't going to admit what had really changed. Because in her mind, she had already done enough by saying, I don't feel the same way. That was all I was going to get. No closure, no apology, no respect for everything we had built together. Just emptiness. And I wasn't sure what was worse. The fact that she had fallen out of love with me, or the fact that she didn't even think I deserved an explanation. The pain was still there, but it was different now. It wasn't the kind of pain that made you beg for answers. It wasn't the kind of pain that made you fight for someone who didn't want to be fought for. No, it was the kind of pain that woke you up. Because I finally saw what was happening here. She had already moved on. Whether she had someone else or not, she was gone. Mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically. She had been planning this, waiting for the right moment to drop it on me. And now that she had, she was ready to walk away. And maybe it was time I was too. I slowly stood up, my heart beating hard against my ribs. She watched me carefully, maybe expecting me to lash out, to cry, to beg. But I did none of those things. I just stared at her, really looked at her. And for the first time in years, I didn't see the woman I had fallen in love with. I saw a stranger. And suddenly, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to waste another second fighting for someone who didn't give a damn about me. She had made her choice. Now I was going to make mine. Something inside me snapped. Not in an explosive, raging way. Not in a way that made me want to scream or throw something. No, it was quieter than that. Colder. It was the kind of snap that happens when a person finally understands, when they see the truth so clearly that it burns away every last illusion. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time, and I was done pretending otherwise. I had spent the last few minutes begging my brain to make sense of this, trying to figure out what I did wrong, trying to find a way to fix what was broken. But then, standing there in front of her, watching her barely react, barely care, I understood. I wasn't losing her. I had already lost her. And suddenly, I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was tired. Tired of being the one who cared more. Tired of fighting alone in a relationship that was supposed to be built for two. Tired of holding on to a ghost of a woman who had already let go of me. I took a slow breath, my hands clenching into fists before I relaxed them. And then I made my choice. I was walking away. I straightened my shoulders, my face going blank. She was expecting tears, anger, pain. But I gave her nothing, just a cold, empty stare. And for the first time that night, I saw it, a flicker of something in her eyes. Not sadness, not regret, but confusion. Because she was expecting me to break down. She was expecting me to fight for her, to demand answers, to beg her to stay. But I wasn't going to do any of that. Because the second I made the decision to walk away, something changed inside me. I wasn't her doormat anymore. I wasn't her fallback option. I wasn't hers to hurt. I was done, and she could feel it. "Where are you going?" she asked when I turned toward the door. Her voice was still emotionless. But I could hear it now, the slight shift, the smallest trace of uncertainty. I stopped at the doorway, but I didn't turn around. "I don't know," I said, my voice steady. "But I know I'm not staying here." A long silence stretched between us. Then she let out a breath, like she had expected me to push back, to fight for her, to beg for another chance. And when I didn't, she didn't know what to do. I could feel it in the air, the way she had prepared herself for a different kind of reaction. But I wasn't giving her that, because I wasn't giving her anything anymore. I grabbed my keys off the counter, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel obligated to say goodbye. I didn't know her one last look. I didn't know her one last word. I didn't know her anything, because she had already discarded me. Now, I was just returning the favor. And that's when I realized something. She had expected control over the situation. She had expected to be the one in charge, the one ending things on her terms. But by walking away first, by refusing to give her the reaction she expected, I was the one in control now. And she could feel it. Right before I stepped out the door, I made the mistake of glancing back at her. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I saw something different in her expression. For the first time, she looked unsure. Not devastated. Not remorseful. Just unsure. Like she was realizing something for the first time. That maybe, just maybe, she had miscalculated. That maybe I wasn't as weak as she thought. That maybe I wouldn't be the one sitting at home, waiting for her to change her mind. And in that moment, I felt nothing for her. Not love. Not pain. Not longing. Just indifference. And that was the moment I knew. I had already won. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't do anything dramatic. I just left. And as I stepped into the cool night air, something inside me felt lighter. Like I had been carrying dead weight for too long. Like I'd been trapped in a story that wasn't mine anymore. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove away. And as the house disappeared in my rearview mirror, I realized something else. I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel broken. I felt free, because I wasn't just walking away from her. I was walking away from the version of myself that thought I needed her. And that was the most powerful feeling in the world. Some people don't realize what they have until it's gone. Some people think they can walk away without consequences, that they can discard a person like an old memory and never feel the weight of their choice. And Laura? She thought she was one of those people. She thought she could tell me she didn't love me anymore, that she couldn't even hug me, and that I'd sit in silence, waiting, hoping she'd change her mind. She thought she'd be free of me. But what she never expected was what would happen when I was free of her. And that's when she started to regret everything. After I walked out that door, I never looked back. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't ask for explanations. I disappeared completely. And that's when it hit her. Because Laura had expected me to linger. She had expected to find missed calls, messages, desperate attempts to pull her back. But instead, there was nothing. Not a single sign that I was still waiting for her. And that silence? It started eating at her. Because for the first time, she was the one left wondering. Where was I? Was I hurting? Was I moving on? Or worst of all, was I happier without her? At first, she probably convinced herself that I was sulking somewhere, that I was still broken, still hoping she'd change her mind. But then she started to hear things. From mutual friends, from social media, from the world that kept moving without her. And what she found out, it killed her. Because I wasn't just getting by, I was thriving. I hit the gym, reshaped my body, turned myself into someone unrecognizable. I went out, made new friends, lived my life like she never existed. I started posting pictures, laughing, smiling, doing all the things she thought I'd be too broken to do. And suddenly, she was a one stuck in the past. Because while I was building a new life, she was stuck in the ruins of the old one. The one she destroyed. It started with something small. A text. Hey, how have you been? I stared at my screen, a smirk pulling at my lips. There it was. The first crack in her confidence. She thought she could just drift back in, test the waters, see if I was still waiting. But I wasn't. I left her on read. When I didn't answer, she tried again. I was just thinking about you today. Hope you're okay. I ignored it. A week later, she got bolder. I miss talking to you. Do you think we could meet up? This time, I let out a short laugh. Meet up? For what? To give her the closure she never gave me? To make her feel better about what she did? No. She had already made her choice. Now, she had to live with it. The moment she truly realized her mistake, It was the night we saw each other by accident. I was out with some friends, laughing, drinking, living. And then I saw her. She was standing near the bar, staring at me, her lips slightly parted like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I wasn't the same man she left. I wasn't broken, lost, or waiting for her. I was stronger, better, happier. And the look on her face? It was pure regret. Like she finally understood that she hadn't just left me. She had left behind the only man who ever truly loved her. And that's when she did the one thing I had been waiting for. She walked over. She tried to start again. But I just smiled. Sorry, Laura. I don't hug people from my past. And then I walked away. Forever. Birthdays are supposed to be happy moments. A day where you feel loved, appreciated, celebrated. And for most of my life, that's what they were. But this one changed everything. This was the birthday where I learned that the woman I loved wasn't who I thought she was. Because in front of everyone I cared about, she humiliated me in a way I never thought possible. And when it was over, she had the audacity to look me in the eyes and say, "But I love you." I woke up that morning feeling good. 32 years old, a solid career, good friends, a beautiful wife. Life wasn't perfect, but I had built something meaningful. And tonight was supposed to be a celebration of that. Laura, my wife, had insisted on planning the party herself. "Just relax," she had told me with a smile. "Let me handle everything." So I did. I let her take control. I let her choose the venue, the guest list, the decorations. I trusted her. And that was my first mistake. Because while I thought she was planning a celebration for me, she was actually setting the stage for my downfall. The restaurant was packed. Friends, co-workers, even some family members I hadn't seen in months were there. There was a huge cake, drinks flowing, music playing, the kind of party people would talk about for weeks. And at the center of it all was Laura. She was smiling, laughing, acting like the perfect wife. She kissed me, pulled me into conversations, made sure I had a drink in my hand at all times. It felt like love. It felt right. But in hindsight, I should have noticed the small things. The way she kept glancing at her phone. The way her friends were whispering, exchanging looks. The way she was too excited about something I didn't understand. Because what I didn't know was that this wasn't just a party. It was a setup. It happened when the speeches started. My best friend, Jake, kicked it off with a lighthearted toast about how we'd known each other since college. A few others followed, some funny stories, some sentimental words. And then it was Laura's turn. She stood up, grinning mischievously as she tapped her glass. Okay, my turn," she announced, flipping her hair over her shoulder. Everyone turned to her, smiling, expecting something sweet, romantic, something a wife would say to the man she loves. But instead, she took the microphone and destroyed me. "First of all, let's all take a moment to appreciate how lucky I am to be married to this man," she started, looking at me with a smile that wasn't real. People chuckled. I smiled back, expecting a playful joke or an inside story. Then, she continued, "I mean, ladies, you know what it's like when you marry someone and realize they're not exactly the man you thought they were?" The room shifted. Some nervous laughter. Some confused expressions. I felt a twinge of something in my stomach. Something wasn't right. Like, "Don't get me wrong," she went on, her tone playful, but her eyes sharp. "I love him. I do. But let's just say if I had known some things before we got married, maybe I would have made different choices." My stomach dropped. I felt the first ripple of humiliation creeping up my spine. Because she wasn't toasting me. She was roasting me. In front of everyone. She kept going. She joked about how I had gained weight since we got married. She laughed about how I was terrible at fixing things around the house. Even exaggerating, making it sound like I was completely useless. She told everyone that I cried during movies, making it sound pathetic instead of human. And then she went for the final blow, something that made my blood run cold. And oh my God, you guys, let's not even talk about our love life. A few people gasped. Some laughed, thinking it was just a joke. But I knew. She had just crossed the line. Because this wasn't playful anymore. This was humiliation. This was intentional. I could feel the eyes on me. Some were amused. Some were uncomfortable. Some were pitying me. And that was the worst part. I wasn't just embarrassed. I was being pitted by my own friends, my own family. And Laura? She just stood there, laughing, acting like it was all harmless fun. I stared at her, my face burning, my hands clenched under the table. I could have laughed it off. I could have played along. But something inside me had shifted, because I suddenly saw everything clearly. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a drunk slip-up. This was who she really was. And the realization hit me like a train. I had spent years loving someone who didn't respect me. I had trusted someone who was willing to tear me down in front of an audience. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a bad birthday. This was the beginning of the end. There's a moment after something terrible happens when your mind refuses to process it. It's like your brain is trying to protect you from the pain, from the realization that everything you thought was real has just been ripped away. That's how I felt the second Laura put down a microphone. The laughter was dying down. People were shifting in their seats, whispering to each other, throwing glances at me that burned my skin. And me? I just sat there, frozen. My heart was pounding in my ears, but my face, completely numb. I wasn't sure if I wanted to explode in anger or just disappear completely. Laura sat back down next to me, smiling like she had just delivered a great performance. Like what she did was harmless fun. She leaned in, touching my arm. "Babe, don't be mad. It was just a joke." A joke. I turned my head slowly, staring at her, trying to understand how she could even say that. "A joke," I repeated, my voice low. "You think that was a joke?" She rolled her eyes, still playing the charming, innocent wife act in front of everyone. "Oh, stop being so sensitive." Everyone was laughing. They loved it. I clenched my jaw, because I knew what she was doing. She was trying to make me feel like the bad guy, like I was overreacting, like I was the one ruining the party. But the truth? She had just humiliated me in front of everyone, and she didn't even care. I could feel the weight of all the eyes on me. Some people were avoiding looking at me altogether, pretending like it never happened. Some were whispering, glancing back and forth between me and Laura. And the worst ones? The ones who had actually laughed. They were waiting to see what I would do, waiting to see if I would just laugh it off and take it. Because that's what she wanted. That's what everyone expected. For me to just smile, pretend it was nothing, and go along with the show. Like a pathetic little joke of a husband. But that wasn't going to happen. Not anymore. My hands were clenched into fists under the table. I had never been this angry in my entire life. Not even in fights as a teenager. Not even when someone tried to mess with me at work. This was different. Because this wasn't a stranger doing this to me. It was my wife. The woman who was supposed to have my back. The woman who was supposed to be my partner. Instead, she was laughing at me, tearing me down in front of people I respected, mocking me in front of my friends, my family, my colleagues. And the worst part? She knew exactly what she was doing. I could see it in her face. She was enjoying it. And that was the moment I knew I could never look at her the same way again. I exhaled slowly, forcing my heartbeat to slow down. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to yell or make a scene. Because that's what she expected. That's what she wanted. For me to react, to get defensive, to make her the victim. So I did the one thing she never saw coming. I went completely still, calm, controlled. And then, I slowly pushed my chair back and stood up. The room went dead silent. Laura blinked up at me, confused. "Where are you going?" I looked down at her, and for the first time since we met, I didn't feel love for her. I felt nothing. "I need some air." I didn't wait for a response. I turned and walked away, leaving her and the entire party behind. I didn't go outside for fresh air. I didn't take a breather and come back inside like everything was okay. I got in my car, and I drove away. I didn't check my phone. I didn't respond to the texts that started coming in from friends asking if I was okay. I just drove because I needed to get away from her. And that's when she must have realized that something was different. That I wasn't just angry. That I wasn't going to brush this off. Because the moment I pulled into my driveway, parked, and sat in silence for a second, my phone buzzed. It was her. "Babe, where did you go?" I stared at the screen. And for the first time ever, I didn't feel the need to answer her. Because something inside me had shifted. This marriage? It wasn't going to survive this. And deep down, I think she knew it too. There's a moment in life when you realize that some people don't actually love you. They just love having control over you. And when I read Laura's text, "Babe, where did you go?" I knew. She wasn't worried. She wasn't feeling guilty. She just didn't like that I walked away first. And for the first time, I wasn't going to be the one chasing after her. I ignored her text. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to explain myself or fix things. I let her sit in that silence. And it took less than 10 minutes for her to start calling. First once, then twice, then 4 times in a row. I let it ring. But on the 5th call, I picked up because I wanted to hear what excuse she would come up with. And the second I answered, she started talking fast, desperate, trying to spin everything in her favor. "Babe, what the hell? Why did you leave like that?" I didn't say anything at first. I just let her sit in the silence the same way she had let me sit in my humiliation. "Are you seriously mad right now?" she continued, her voice rising. "It was a joke. Come on." Everyone was laughing. It wasn't that serious. I closed my eyes, inhaling slowly. "Not that serious?" I repeated, my voice calm, controlled. "You stood up in front of all my friends, my family, and ripped me apart like I was some joke to you. And you expect me to just laugh along?" She sighed, like she was the one getting frustrated. "You're overreacting." God, I didn't mean anything by it. That's when I laughed, because I finally understood. She didn't feel bad. She wasn't sorry. She was just mad that I wasn't playing my part anymore. After I didn't respond, she changed tactics. Her voice softened. "Listen, babe, you know I love you, right?" I didn't say anything. I would never hurt you on purpose. She exhaled, lowering her tone like she was trying to guilt me into feeling bad. "I just wanted to make people laugh. I wanted you to have a fun birthday. I thought you'd be okay with it." I clenched my jaw. There it was. The classic gaslighting. She wasn't apologizing. She was trying to rewrite reality. Trying to make me believe that I was the one being unreasonable. That I was the problem for not finding it funny. That her public humiliation of me was somehow an act of love. And the worst part? I had fallen for these tactics before. The countless times she'd made me doubt my own feelings. The times she made me feel like I was too sensitive whenever she crossed the line. The time she convinced me that I was overreacting when she made me feel like nothing. But this time was different. I smiled to myself, a bitter, knowing smile. Because I finally saw her for what she was. Not a loving wife. Not a caring partner. Just someone who needed a punching bag to make herself feel better. And I was done being that. "Laura," I said, my voice eerily calm. "You don't humiliate the people you love." Silence. I could feel her grasping for control, trying to figure out how to manipulate me next. I didn't mean. No, I cut her off. "You did. You meant every single word. Come on, babe." "No." My voice was cold now. "This isn't love. Whatever this is, it's not love." She sucked in a breath, and for the first time, I heard fear in her voice. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing control over me. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" she muttered, her tone changing from sweet to bitter in an instant. And that told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't sorry. She never was. She just wanted me to move past it, so she could keep doing whatever the hell she wanted. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to fight for an apology I knew I'd never get. I was done. So I exhaled, feeling the weight finally lift off my shoulders. "You're right, Laura," I said, my voice neutral. "I'm not going to let this go." Silence. "So what now?" she asked, her voice sharp, annoyed. I let out a slow breath. "Now," I said, already knowing what I was about to do next. "Now I stop helping you. Now I stop making excuses for you. Now I stop loving someone who clearly doesn't love me back." And then I hung up. And for the first time in years, I felt free. There comes a moment when you realize that you're done. Not just angry, not just hurt, not just frustrated. Done. That was where I was. Because love isn't supposed to feel like this. And now, for the first time, I wasn't just accepting the truth. I was finally acting on it. And the moment I hung up on Laura, that was the moment I walked away for good. I sat there, my phone still in my hand, staring at the screen. No incoming calls. No new messages. No desperate attempt from her to fix what she had broken. Because she wasn't trying to fix anything. She just wanted to win. And when she realized she wasn't going to, she gave up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel defeated. I felt relieved. Because I didn't have to fight for her attention anymore. I didn't have to convince myself that her love was real. I didn't have to make excuses for the way she treated me. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for her to love me the way I deserved. I was just moving on. Walking away wasn't just about leaving her behind. It was about rebuilding myself. And that meant I had to start making real changes. Cutting her out completely. I didn't wait for the next conversation. I didn't wait for another round of manipulation. I blocked her number, deleted our messages, unfollowed her on every platform. I erased her from my life. Because if she wanted to act like I didn't matter, then I was going to show her what that really looked like. B. Hitting the gym, turning pain into power. I needed an outlet, so I started working out. Every drop of sweat, every rep, every mile on the treadmill wasn't just exercise. It was a release, a way to take back control of my body, my mind, my confidence. I wasn't just healing. I was becoming someone she would never recognize again. C. Reconnecting with friends, rebuilding my support system. The worst part about toxic relationships? You don't even realize how much you've isolated yourself until you're free. So I reached out. I texted old friends, started saying yes to invites, and I finally realized how much of my life I had given up just to keep her happy. That was over now. Now, I was putting myself first. It took 2 weeks for her to reach out again. I expected it sooner, but Laura was calculating. She probably thought I'd cave first. When she finally did message me, it wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession of regret. It was just one simple text. Do you really not care anymore? I stared at the message for a long time, not because I was tempted to respond, but because I realized something. She wasn't asking if I still loved her. She wasn't asking if I was okay. She wasn't asking if we could fix things. She was just trying to see if she still had control over me. And the answer? No, she didn't. So I did the one thing she never expected. I left her on read. She thought she had won that night. She thought she had broken me in front of everyone, made me a joke, made herself the center of attention. But in the end, she was the one left chasing a ghost. Because now, she had to sit with her own choices. She had thrown away a man who actually loved her. She had lost someone who would have done anything for her. She had gambled on humiliation over respect. And in return, she got exactly what she deserved. Nothing. I took one last deep breath, looked at the city lights through my window, and smiled. Not because I was happy about what happened. Not because I wasn't still healing. But because I knew I was never going to let this happen again. Never again would I beg for love. Never again would I fight for someone who wasn't fighting for me. Never again would I be someone's joke. Because I was no longer her victim. I was free, and I wasn't coming back.